Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the Women Mean Business Luncheon. My name is Marisol de Leon, and I graduated from First Step Class 46. Growing up, I had a pretty good childhood. I grew up in the South Bronx with my mother and my father in my life. I went to private school and didn't really want for anything. At some point, when I was 14, I decided that that wasn't enough, and I rebelled. At 15, I became pregnant and was forced out of my mother's house. I moved in with my boyfriend's father and had my son Christopher later that year. I had no job and hadn't finished school. I was a child and thought that I knew it all, but I was blinded by love. My boyfriend at the time was neglectful, and I realized that he didn't want me or my son. I was trying to make it work, but his family asked me to leave. I was lost. My mom was angry and hurt, but even so, she accepted me back in her house, but it was not easy. I went back to school and worked really hard. I graduated on time and became valedictorian of my class. After high school, I thought that I needed to do things my own way. I met someone who I thought was the love of my life, again. I moved to Virginia and decided that my son, who was 6 at the time, stay behind with my mom because I didn't think that I could take care of him. I was looking for happiness. However, happiness was far out of reach. This relationship was brutal. I was verbally and physically abused. The person that I was with was no good for me. I was blind and scared to leave. I was isolated from my family. I had no friends, and my mother wouldn't even talk to me. A few years later went by, and I was exhausted. I was so lost that one day I called my son to say goodbye. I didn't want to live anymore. He sensed that something wasn't right. He made me promise to call him back the next day. I couldn't let him down, so I said okay. That evening, God sent me a genuine friend who had been in front of me but I didn't see. Joseph, who later became my husband, saved me, literally. He made me get up and get out of the situation that I was in. With his help, I was able to get my life back on track. However, I wanted to have my mom and my son in my life, so we moved back to New York. I worked really hard to gain their trust back and made amends. I was looking for employment, but it was difficult. I didn't have the skills or the experience for the jobs that I wanted. A friend of mine saw a number in the paper and gave it to me. The number was for First Step. I was late to the initial interview and thought about turning around, but something said, just go anyway, you're almost there. I went in and apologized for my lateness and interviewed with who would later become my instructor. After the interview, she congratulated me on making the cut. When I first started the program, I felt like I didn't belong. I thought that I was the only one in the class that was clueless about working in an office environment. I tried to fake it till I made it. Of course, that didn't work. My instructor caught on and sat me down and had a heart-to-heart with me. She talked to me about success, about life as a mother and who can finally take charge and take care of her son. She helped me dream big. I became excited at what I could gain from the First Step program. At First Step, I learned computer skills, interviewing techniques, and some things about me that I knew but was too scared to confront. I realized that I was afraid of success, but I met a few friends who still keep me smiling and motivated me to overcome my fear. I was assigned an internship at an IPG advertising agency doing administrative work. I was terrified. While on my way to the first day of work, I was going over all of the skills that I learned in class, and for the life of me, I could not remember a thing. I wanted to turn around and go home, but I did not. Instead, I became a member of the corporate world. Learning everything that I could learn became my goal because I had the chance of a lifetime and I was surely going to take advantage of it. Without telling you each detail of each day of my internship, I will tell you that I loved it and they loved me too. After months of internship and temporary work, I was hired as an administrative assistant in 2002. I was beyond excited and so very grateful. I have been with the IPG family for 17 years this May. I am the National Administrative Manager at Initiative. I currently manage executive and administrative assistants in New York, Chicago, and LA. When I tell people that I have been with the agency for so long, they ask me how. Well, since the day that I walked through the doors, from my internship through my employment, every single person that I have worked with has embraced me and guided me to help make me better. They are my family. They have held me up when I was at my weakest and hold me up when I shine bright. I love my job. The opportunities that they have given me year after year are both because of my hard work and their faith in me. While at the agency, I became the First Step liaison. In that role, I was able to help guide our interns, help host graduations at the agency, and organized a career day. I also worked with the HR department and submitted First Step resumes. In total, 7 First Steppers were hired, 4 moved on to different careers, and 3 of us have been with the IPG family for 10 plus years. I wanted to do more for this priceless program. I wanted to give back as much as I could. I was elected chair of the First Step Graduate Committee, and in 2006, I was invited to sit on the First Step Advisory Board. I was giving back to this program that I loved so very much. Over the course of 9 years, I was able to contribute to First Step with the help of our agency and its leadership. The CEO at the time, Lawrence Piscetto, was so impressed with this phenomenal program, he got involved with First Step and eventually served on the Coalition for the Homeless Board. My second son, Jaden, was born in 2009, and work became very busy. I eventually decided to step aside and concentrate on my very hectic life. My family needed me to focus on them. I decided to take a break from my involvement in First Step and try to balance my life. In March of 2013, my oldest son came to me with some really big news. He was going to be a dad. Now, after the initial shock and remembering that he was an adult, I became emotional and very happy. However, that joy would be cut short. Just 3 months after receiving this news, my son, Christopher, my firstborn, was shot and killed. It was like a punch to my stomach, as if someone reached into my chest and tore my heart out. I wasted so much time during his childhood. My life changed drastically. I didn't know how I was going to survive with the loss of my baby. I was devastated. He will forever be 26 years old. Once again, I just wanted to turn around and go home, lay my head in my pillow and disappear. However, I have gotten through this through the grace of God, my youngest son, Jaden, my husband, Joseph, the support of my family and friends, and the life lessons that had prepared me for that day. I still don't know why God needed to take my son back, but I know that his short life with me was valuable and his death will not be in vain. I took the strength that I was taught to gather myself and keep pushing through for my family and myself. With this strength and the skills that I learned at First Step and mastered at work, I continue to love my family and do my job well. I work tirelessly to keep my son's name alive and organize a foundation in Christopher's name. Thinking back to the first day of attending First Step through today, I have to say that I have grown into a strong, independent, loyal, courageous, and happy woman. I am able to provide for my family, save money for my youngest son's education, and be free of the things that held me back before. Of course, I worry about some things, but who doesn't? I just don't worry about the things that I cannot change. Everything is not meant to be understood. I take life day by day, and I love my family. I rejoined the First Step Advisory Board and recommitted to once again get my company involved. Being involved with First Step again is an opportunity to help other women understand that they too can achieve their greatness. It is my responsibility to let them know how I became successful and how they can do the same. Although I absolutely did not know this at the time, things happened for a reason. I was meant to have a conversation with a friend who would introduce me to First Step. I was meant to be nervous prior to my internship so that I could experience being successful. I was meant to form bonds with my First Step sisters so that I can get through my difficult days. And I was meant to be placed at an agency that has given me more than I could ever thank them for. Thank you.